Praise the living God. Well, let's just bow our heads. Father God, we thank you for another day, for another opportunity you have given us as a gift to come together and worship you. For so many decades, so many took that for granted. The ability to come and worship, the ability to come and lift your name high. It was just so common. I pray, Father, that you would spark that fire in our souls, in our spirits, in our hearts, in our minds, that every time we come, we would feel that excitement because we have come to see the King, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Holy Spirit, you're welcome here. Touch our hearts, our souls, our spirits. Do with us as you please. Touch our bodies as well. Father, we are a needy people. We have lots of needs. We are weak, broken. But Father, you are strong and powerful. So we humble ourselves today and we ask you to come and fix, Father, what's broken. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Amen. Well, I feel excitement in the air. I don't know about Tony, but I feel excitement in the air. It's awesome. I think we have entered a new chapter, if you will. And every time you enter a new chapter in your life or corporately, there is an attack. The enemy is unleashed, if you will. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. The enemy is chirping, talking, gossiping, attacking. So I would just say to you, ignore him. Amen. Just like you ignore the dust under your feet. Let's just keep plowing. Yeah. Keep your eyes on the prize. Amen. Keep your eyes on Jesus. And those other things, which are many, are just a distraction. So before I will let my son to come, and yes, finally, they've decided to come back. Finally. I think the last few times we were talking, I think my wife knew I'm on the edge of dying. I'm barely surviving, and if they will not wrap things up, there will be just a corpse left. I felt like Simba, our little dog, desperate, like, please come back, save me. So they're back. They had an amazing time in USA. They've met lots of people. I'll leave that to them. I just want to address a few little things. As you know, the leadership is on. Today is the last day if you want to vote for me. If you don't want to vote for me, that's okay. I'm not going to be crying. People think, oh, someone called me and said, well, what if people will not want to vote for you? Well, okay, whatever. Then don't. You can always vote for snakes and scorpions and vipers. You have been doing this. Actually, you were doing a pretty good job for the past 50 years, so keep doing what you're doing. I'll keep doing what I'm doing no matter what. I'll still be a pastor. I love being a pastor. I'll feed the poor. I'll be doing what I'm doing. My life will not change. You see, listen to me very carefully. My life will not change. But your life will not change either. You will have the same devils doing the same devilish things to you and your children, unless you decide to change. If we're going to do revolving door, and of course this foolishness, I can't stand it. I can't stand it anymore. I'm so frustrated every time I hear it right now because we have been playing this game for 40, 50 years. We got to vote for the lesser evil. Yeah. Evil is evil. Evil is evil. If you're voting for evil, I don't care how small, a little, tiny the devil is, he's still a devil. That's right. Don't vote for the devil. Let's change it. Well, you don't stand a chance. Well, that's what he said to David. David, you don't stand a chance. Goliath was trained from his youth. He's a warrior. Look how big he is. Well, David didn't stand a chance. Joshua and Caleb and Mordecai and Esther and Deborah and Gideon and apostles, no one stood a chance on their own. But with God, well, suddenly everything changes with God. They were no longer the underdogs. They were the D-dogs, the mighty lions. The separation of the state and church, I've heard that a few times during the week. Oh, you should stay away from politics, says the devil. Stay away from the politics. Don't influence the corruption. Don't influence the evil. Stay away from the things that are actually impacting your life and the life of your children, says the devil. Don't interfere with my business. Is that not exactly why they hated Jesus so much? He flipped their tables. He interfered with their corrupted business, and they hated him for it. I believe that this leadership race sparked some hope in people's hearts, because for the past 4 months since I was released from prison, I hear this all over and over again. Who are you going to vote for? Well, there is no one to vote for, and I agree. There is absolutely no one to vote for. We have snakes, we got scorpions, and we got vipers, and we've got plenty of hyenas. Pick your, choose your candidates. They're all the same. Professional politicians. You see, for them, that's the problem. If they're not elected, they've lost everything, because they have nothing else. They're just pathological professional liars. That's what they do for money. But for me, don't vote for me if you don't want to vote for me. I have a job, which is my passion, to work for the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Amen. But if you want to change, well, you have an opportunity. You have a man that can bring that change. And if you know, everywhere I show up, the change is immediate. My wife says, don't say I promise, because that sounds so pathetic, like all of those snakes are coming on television. I promise you this, I promise you. But you know what? I promise you that will be me. I have absolutely no plans of becoming a schizophrenic. I have no plans of changing anything. I am me. Take it or leave it. Everything or nothing. So I wanna ask my son Nathaniel to come. They have been cruising around, meeting some fancy, dancy people, and I'm sure they're going to have plenty of stories to share. Nathaniel.
I leave for a month and this guy's running for politics? What's wrong with you guys? Must be really bad. I want to address that, actually, voting for lesser evil. I often hear comments and see comments like, well, we need to vote someone who's going to resonate with all Albertans. If you're resonating with a liberal, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, that's right. I don't want someone who's going to resonate with a liberal. If they're resonating with evil, that means there's something wrong. I don't want them to resonate with all Albertans. And I was thinking about this the other day. We often talk about unity. We want unity. But did Jesus come to bring unity? He came to bring a sword and to divide. Sometimes you can't have unity. You have to cut out the evil. So in this case, I don't think we want unity in the sense that we don't want to unite with evil. We can't unite with them. We have to separate from them. So I just wanted to say that about that. It's good to be back. I would be lying if the thought didn't at least cross my mind to just stay in free Florida. But no, this is our home and this is our fighting grounds. And that's actually what else I want to address, and that is some rumors that I heard. One rumor was that we're moving to America. How do you run for politics moving to America? No, we're not moving. This is our home. We are Canadians. But that doesn't mean we're not going to go to America. That doesn't mean we're not going to engage with our brothers to the south. I mean, they are our older brother, after all.
That's right. Lions.
Another rumor I heard was, how did they get across the border? They must be vaccinated. I'll tell you right now, I'd rather never travel again in my life than take the poison jab. We did not take any vaccine. We got special papers. We are special diplomats, if you didn't know. We're moving up in the world. There's a CDC exemption, actually. I do want to say how we got across the border. Everything was legal. Everything was according to the book. We got an exemption. According to the CDC website, you're allowed to be exempt if you're going on official government business. So see how they gave themselves an out, right? The politicians, they don't need to take it. If they're going on business, they don't need to be vaccinated. And neither do people crossing illegally in the southern border. You know, that thought did cross my mind. I was like, you know, if I just went to Mexico, I could walk across and nobody would stop me.
That's right.
But we do everything legally because we are followers of the law. We care about the rule of law.
Amen.
They don't care about it. So we got an exemption inviting us on official government business because the Ohio State Legislature wanted to invite us, me and my mom, to testify about the persecution of Christians and pastors, specifically my dad, in Canada, because they actually passed a resolution to put Canada on a religious persecution watch list. So we were there discussing with some state reps. So that's how we got down. Getting back also was very interesting because there's ArriveCan, there's quarantine, there's vaccine, there's tests. I don't know what's happening. Something's changing because we gave the border guard our passport. He said just the simple stuff, you know, tobacco, alcohol. Nope, goodbye, go. Like, go, get out of here. Like nothing, no ArriveCan, nothing. So favor, we were supposed to be there and we got back, no problem, nothing. Just let us in. So why America? Why did we go down even? What's the point? What's the point of going there? We have enough problems here, don't we? They have their problems, we have our problems. So why bother? It's for a few reasons, actually. One, yeah, we want to share the story, the persecution, the pastor treatment, the arrests, all this. We want to share that story because it resonates with Americans more than it resonates with Canadians. They value religious freedom much more than Canadians do. So that warning, we were there to, like, as a trumpet, warning to America, you're one step behind Canada. If you don't stand up, you're going to be as bad as Canada, Australia.
That's right.
So we were there to warn them. I was there also. Me and my mom had different roles. My mom's role, she can share about that after. It was to speak to the women, and she can get more into specifics on that. I was there to speak to the youth. Many people ask me, how do you deal with it as a young person? They knew about my university struggles. How do you deal with it? So I was sharing hope to the youth. I was there also to observe, to learn. It's cool traveling around to all these different churches because they're all on the same level. They're completely on the same page as us, but they're all different. They all have their own flavor. All these pastors are very different than this guy. But this diversity is actually good because you get to learn from different people, adopt certain things. Like this guy does this church does this, and we can learn from each other. But they're all sound doctrine. They're all completely on the same page. Anti-mandate, pro-life, everything. So it's really cool to just see the different perspectives. You know how Tennessee does it, how Florida does it, how California does it. So we want to bring back some stuff we learned in America because they're our older brother. Okay, they're like an older brother. They're a little bit more experienced. They're a little stronger. Doesn't mean they're necessarily better, but they're a little bit wiser. They're more experienced. They're older, so we should learn from them. A message I also had was Americans very much rely on this piece of paper called the Constitution. It's a great document. It's very well written. It's an amazing document, but it's just a piece of paper. We have a piece of paper. We have a Constitution, maybe not as good, but does it matter how good of a document it is? Tyrants don't care. Dictators don't care. Totalitarian regimes don't care. They're going to step on it. My message was they used ours as toilet paper when that toilet paper shortage was rampant. They don't care about a piece of paper. You have to care about it, and you have to use it to hold the government accountable. So that really resonated with Americans because they solely rely on that document, and we've learned over the last 2 years that they've completely neglected it. We saw what happened in Mar-a-Lago. We saw what's happening in there. They don't care. The people have to care. The people have to wake up.
That's right.
Another observation, and something that's very powerful in America, is the church. The church in America is powerful, and they don't even realize it. It's the most powerful force here on earth in the physical realm. The American churches. They send the most missionaries. They have the most funds. They're the biggest. They're the strongest. And we need their help. We need their help, but they also have to learn to use that power in their own backyard. So me and my mom were encouraging them, realize your power. Realize how strong you are, because if every church took a stand, we wouldn't be in this mess. I met some incredible people. One person I talked to was Donald Trump Jr. And I was in an environment where I had like 30 seconds to say everything I needed to say because there was a huge lineup of people that wanted to meet him. So I was very trained at this point because I met some incredible people, but each time you only have like 15 seconds to say what you have to say. So I'm like, my name is Nathaniel Pawlowski, I'm the pastor, right? And I would just say everything I need to say, and then they would engage with me for longer. And with Donald Trump Jr., I was like, my name is Nathaniel Pawlowski, I'm the son of that pastor who was up in Canada, who kicked the police out and was arrested. He's like, oh, that guy, yeah, I know him. And I said, I just want to thank you on behalf of my family and myself that you stand for freedom. He was sharing the story. His brother, Eric Trump, was sharing the story. So I was like, thank you. And he said, no, we should be thanking your father, because if everyone took a stand like him, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Amen.
He didn't use the word mess. He used a different word, but I can't repeat it because I'm out of pulpit. So we're there to sort of stir up, wake up the sleeping giant that is the American church, because they are asleep. They're becoming like the Canadian church, which is complacent, complicit actually, because they're allowing all this to happen. They allowed separation of church and state. They allowed the Bible to be taken out of schools. They allowed prayer to be taken out of schools. They allowed the 10 Commandments to be taken out of the justice system. And now they're in the mess that they're in. So they're one tiny step behind Canada. So our message is wake up. You already have pastors in America that are being arrested. Pastor Rodney in Florida, Pastor Tim in California. It's already starting, and yes, they were vindicated pretty much immediately. But then there are those who are not being vindicated immediately, like the January 6 people.
That's right.
They're still in prison. They're still being persecuted. This is happening in America, so wake up. Traveling around, you meet all kinds of weird and cool people. And I say weird, but they're really like us. Like I met Ray Comfort in California, and he had a huge impact on my life. His videos from Living Waters, his basic message of just sharing the gospel. He would just grab a microphone and ask someone, if you want to be on camera, I'll give you $5 in and out gift card if you be on camera, and you just have to answer one question: is there an afterlife? And then the whole gospel unravels. But his simple approach really had an impact on my life. I watched all of his videos. So meeting him in person and watching this, he's a really short guy. And he's like an Energizer bunny. Like he'll run around like this whole pier and find people, and he's like a pit bull. So it was really cool to meet him. Of course, the state representatives were amazing. In fact, the lead representative on the resolution is a pastor. His name is Representative Tim Ginter. He's a pastor On Sunday, he's preaching. Monday to Saturday, he's in the legislature doing his job as a politician. So is it possible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his message to us was, it's not easy, you're busy, but it's necessary. Meeting all kinds of pastors. We met like Rodney Howard in Florida, which was really cool. That guy is like a power horse in Florida. He has like a tent for 10,000 people. Awaken Church in California, Pastor Greg Locke in Tennessee. So we hung around with some great people, and they're all exactly on the same page. And that is, it was actually really cool to see every single pastor that took a stand, much like in Canada, at least doubled. At least doubled. So every pastor that took a stand is now being elevated, and everyone who shut down is being shut down. Very cool to see that. So it's a universal concept. So my journey to the US, my story goes back actually a year ago. When we were in lockdowns, this was before the Get Out video, I was very tired. I was very tired, I was exhausted with the lockdowns, with not being able to do anything, being treated like a second-class citizen, and I was tired, and I was saying, you know, I would say this to my parents, and I wasn't bluffing. I was like, I'm going to Texas. I'm going to Florida. I just need a vacation. I need to feel some freedom so I can come back and keep fighting because I'm tired. And then the Get Out thing happened, and then the arrest happened, and that all got postponed. My plan to escape to the US for a vacation. And then my dad gets released from his 3-day prison, and he's like, I'm being called to America. There's this call to go there and to tour, to share the message to Americans, to warn them, to get them to keep flapping his wings. He loves his metaphors. And I was like, he asked me, like, are you coming? I was like, I was packed yesterday, let's go. But my dad couldn't attest to this. I hated cameras. I hated public speaking. We were, I think it was in Poland or something. My dad's doing like his videos. He goes on a like 10, 15-minute monologue, doing his thing, and he would always shove the camera in my face and be like, say something. And I was like, stop doing this to me. Like, if you want me to say something, I'll say something, but give me a heads up so I can get my thoughts together. No, sticks the camera in my face. And I, in Polish, just gave him heck for it. I was like, I told you not to do this. Like, don't do this. Why are you doing this to me? And he's like, man, you ruined my monologue. So I wasn't built for public speaking. I'm like, cameras, faces, very intimidating to me.
Face your fear.
And then I would go to America, and my dad's doing his tour, and I wasn't speaking there. But one time we're on stage at a church in Tennessee, and he calls me on stage and he gives me the microphone. I thought I was going to take the microphone and just strangle him. And that would be the end of Pastor Artur Pawlowski, the saga of the Pawlowskis, strangled by own son. Because I didn't like it. And he would always put me in these situations, making me uncomfortable and getting me to get out of that shell. But it was all building me. It was all this process. And then I get back to Canada. I had to come back after the tour. I went back early by myself, and I had my COVID jail encounter. If you don't know about it, Rebel News, Google it, Nathaniel Pawlowski COVID jail, something like that. And I was forced to do my first interview with Rebel News. And I was so nervous, I even had to write down notes. I couldn't do it freehand. And I was in a jail on a phone call, so it wasn't even that intimidating. But that's the state I was in. I just did not like it. I couldn't do it. And then fast forward to my university encounters, where the university is threatening me to kick me out, and I'm dealing with all these mandates in school, and I'm forced into it. I can't stay quiet anymore. I have to do rebel interviews. I have to do protest speeches. I'm thrown into this because otherwise I don't have an education, so I have to be thrown into this fight, which was very difficult for me because, again, cameras, faces, don't like it. But I had to do it. And then this guy decides to get arrested 5 more times. And who has to do shows? Who has to do Alex Jones? Who has to do Steve Bannon while he's in jail? I have to do it. So I'm the one who's doing all these shows and interviews and rebel and appearances. So again, I didn't decide to do this. I didn't want to do this. I was thrown into it. But praise God, because starting to build that confidence, and of course 50 days in jail, and I was doing shows like every other day and speaking in front of the prison, and I had to do this. It wasn't even a choice. Well, I mean, it was a choice, but I'm not going to let him rot. So I was thrown into it.
Thank you for sparing my life.
So that was, and then he's in prison, and we're doing these protests, these daily protests, and I'm like, this isn't enough. We're not doing enough. And I remember I was on the phone. I don't even know if you remember this. We were on the phone, and I was like, what if I go to America? I was like, what if I go by myself and just, mobilize these Americans to do something? These protests aren't working. Nothing's working. You're still in prison. Like, what if I just go to America and do this? Get them to mobilize, protest at embassies, do whatever. And he was like, no, you're needed here, and now we know why. Those protests are the thing that, I believe, the thing that was very instrumental in getting him out of prison. But after he gets out, he's placed on strict bail conditions, and his tour gets postponed. Sad, I know, he's still sad about it. He likes his America. But me and my mom come up with this idea, like, what if we go in your stead? Like, they tried everything to keep you in Alberta, to silence you, to stop you from going to America, because that rallied an army to your aid when you were in prison. Now they're trying to silence you and stop you from doing that. What if we just continue it? What if we just go and do it anyways, just to stick it to the devil? So we did it. We decided to go, and as you know, we were denied at the border. Said, no, you're not vaccinated, turn around, go home. Okay, well, I guess we're not meant to go. But then we find out why. There was that Sunday pro-abortion rally, and it was very important that my mom was there. She rallied the children and faced the devil, so it was very important for us to be there. But I still felt this pull. I was like, it's like I'm on a mission. Like, I can't get America out of my mind. It's like I'm meant to be there. I have to go there. It's pulling me, physically pulling me. But I was like, I don't want to waste another 3.5 hours driving one way just to be turned away at the border again. The mom was like, we need a definitive answer if we're going to get in or not. So a week later, we try again. I admit right now, I had zero faith. Zero. I left half of my belongings at home because I was like, it's just a waste of time. We're just going to get denied again. And we were in the car and we're driving up, and my mom says, I say to my mom, I don't think there's one single border guard left that's good. I was like, they're all Nazis. They're all Nazis. My mom's like, no, don't think like that. God has his people everywhere. I was like, no, don't believe you. They're all Nazis. And I was like, no, I have a feeling this time's going to be good. I'm like all like sulking and like, it's so waste. Gas is so expensive. My car, And we drive up to the border, and the guy, like the person in front of us, drives up a little bit too far over the line. And I see the guard giving that person heck, like yelling at them. I was like, we got a Nazi. Such a waste of time. And I was so angry. And my mom's like, no, just calm down. We got this. And the guard comes up. He's like, why are you going to America? I was like, we were invited to the Ohio State Legislature to testify. I give him the letter. And he's like, so you're going to testify against Trudeau? I was like, no, I didn't know if he was for or against. Why is he asking? So I was like, no, more like the whole Canadian government. And he was like, I thought Canada was free. I said, well, did you hear about those 5 pastors that were arrested? He's like, oh yeah, that, go kick some butt. Lets us in. And the significant part of it was in Coutts. It was the Coutts border. And we decided on Coutts because we tried a different border before, and then we decided the second time to try Coutts because my mom and dad said, it's symbolic. It's a symbolic place. So we tried it, and yeah, my mom was right, I was wrong. how it often is. And God has his people everywhere. But the reason I was called to go to America was, again, for a few reasons, to speak to the youth, but also one specific event that really had an impact on my life and I believe changed my life. And that is the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit that Charlie Kirk puts together. I didn't plan on going to this event. We were in California, I think. We were in LA speaking at a church. And I saw this ad online, and it's about Turning Point. I was like, oh, I've seen these before. I would love to go. And we're going to be in Tampa at the same time. I was like, I'm absolutely buying tickets. I'm going to this. I was like, maybe I can meet Trump. Like, that'd be a cool... The left here hates the picture so much with my dad and General Flynn. They hate it. It's just a picture. Like, it really is meaningless, but it's meaningful because a picture speaks 1,000 words. So I was like, maybe I could get a picture with Trump. Like, that'll tick him off. But I was there for a different purpose. I was there to learn what the difference is between America and Canada. And one of the main key differences is Americans value the youth much more than Canadians do. Canadians neglect the youth. They leave it to the beast, they leave it to the system. I mean, after all, we pay taxes, we pay such high taxes, we should rely completely on the government to supply everything for us. They should be taking care of our kids. And now we're in the mess that we are in, and we can't even determine what a woman is. We don't even know what that is, right? Like basic biology. So seeing them value the youth and the difference, because I hate to break it to you, older generation, we're in this mess because of you. I don't mean maybe you specifically in this church, because you're on board with everything, but it's the older generation's fault. A generation of toleration leads to a generation of celebration. Your generation tolerated anything and everything because we have to be nice Canadians. And now we're celebrating that disgusting behavior on our streets, parading it. So really, I'm sorry, but it's your fault. You got us into this mess, and it's going to be up to my generation, the younger generation, to fix it. Why are we neglecting the youth? Why are we just leaving them to the school system? Why we don't have anything for the youth? So seeing the Turning Point, there was 6,000 students, high school, mostly college, in a room listening to conservative Christians. Obviously politicians as well. I mean, like Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Josh Hawley, we like him because he's the senator from Missouri who wanted to put Canada on a religious persecution watch list. Donald Trump Jr., pretty much all of the Trump administration that wasn't sold out to, the Democrats. That's a whole different story. Some really cool governors, Governor DeSantis and Governor Kevin Stitt. And I want to talk about them specifically because this is also a difference between Canada and America. And again, we have to adopt the good things that America does and, eat the meat, spit the bones. There's things that Canada does better, there are things that America does better. America values Christianity and politics, as in they're not afraid, they're not ashamed of it. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma gets on stage in front of 6,000 students and says, the most important thing in my life is my relationship with Jesus Christ. And then he says, because of Roe v. Wade, I am banning abortion in the state of Oklahoma. How many premiers would do that? How many MLAs, how many councilmen would do that? Like one? And he goes to this church occasionally. There's no good politicians. And they understand in America that separation of church and state is from the devil. We have to be involved in politics. We have to. So seeing, for example, Kayleigh McEnany, she's the press secretary for Trump. She gets on stage and tells her entire testimony, how she got saved, how on her first day she was so nervous and crying, and then she just did a prayer and she delivered the best speech she's ever done in her life, and she was given this supernatural wisdom how to deal with those fake news media. The Americans care. They care about getting involved in politics and getting involved in the youth. Those are two things that we neglect here in Canada. We have to adopt those two things if we want to even stand a chance against fixing this mess that we're in. Meeting Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, that's on stage right now, or on the screen right now. They're like powerhouses for Christian conservatism in the US. And again, I had like 15 seconds to talk with this guy, and I was like, my name is Nathaniel Pawlowski, I'm the son of that pastor. You were sharing his story, and he was like, and he wanted to talk to me for more, but the people behind were getting angry, so he's like, just give me your information to your to my agent, and we'll set something up later for you to be on my show or something. These people, they look young, but they're not actually all that young. We were with this one pastor, and this is very important. We were with this one pastor in California, in San Diego, and he's in his 50s. He looks much younger, but he's in his 50s. And I asked him, how do you do it? How do you bring in all these young people into your church? Why is half of your church population young people? And I mean young people, like middle school, high school, college. And I was like, are they all just like sons, daughters of the parents? It's like, no, they come on their own. So I was like, what's your secret? Why is that? And he said, a sign of maturity is giving away your personal preferences to make way for the new, make way for the new generation. And he says, the doctrine doesn't ever change. The Bible stays the same. It's the Word of God. It's unchanging. The preaching stays always the same. But a style of music can change. If that's going to pull in young people, if these these crazy light shows are going to bring young people in, it's not a sin to have lights. And that's how he does it. He says, we're supposed to be fishermen of men. Amen. You can use other bait. You have to use actually other bait. If you want to catch a bass, you use this type of bait. If you want to catch a pike, you use this type of bait. You bring people in. And my dad's been attacked and accused for using bait. Well, you're luring people in with sandwiches. You're luring in the poor with food. Jesus did it. If it works for Jesus, it works for me. He fed people, and they came to be fed, but they also came to be fed with the Word. So we can have these baits and bring people in. And I really like their approach, because he said, it's the older generation's fault we're in this mess, and it's going to be up to the new generation to fix this mess. We have to focus on them. We have to focus on them, because if we don't focus on them, we're lost. And we are in a state like that today. I go to university. By the way, I have to address something. Antifa, I have an important announcement. I am a man of the people. I listen to you. I listen to your comments. I read your comments. I see your posts. I appreciate you looking out for me. I've gotten comments like, this kid should have finished high school. I have finished high school. And I've also seen comments like, this poor kid needs to get educated. He needs to go to university. I listen because I care. I finished my degree. I am now educated. I am the smartest of them all. You cannot say anything that you have no more bullets. I am educated. It's my joking way of saying I got my degree and it means nothing. It's a piece of paper. The dumbest people I've met in the world graduated from Harvard. They don't teach you in these universities, they indoctrinate you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm smart now. So, seeing these events, for example, Saturday, it was a 3-day event, this Turning Point thing. Saturday, the keynote speaker, Donald Trump, he was delayed because his plane had bad weather, and he got in very late. The speech went very late. Afterwards, you have to eat because you hadn't eaten all day, so you're hungry. So the night went very late, and the next morning, there was a 7 a.m. worship service. I was like, 7 a.m., I'm going to get like 4 hours of sleep. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to go to that, but I have to go to that. And I show up, and the entire hall is packed with young, beautiful students. The first 2 rows, and I was noticing these key these key things that were significant in my life. And the first 2 rows were all young girls. They were all young girls, the first 2 rows. And the singer was Sean Foyt. He's the guy who went to Portland with my dad when they were bombarded with the Antifa bombs and that whole Portland incident. He was the singer that was there with my dad. And he was singing on stage, and he sung this song. It's called Imago Dei, which means image of God. And he wrote it post Roe v. Wade for the unborn. And there was these 2 full rows, so like dozens of girls singing.
What'd you say?
Sorry. Okay. First 2 rows. I don't know. There was the first 2 rows of girls. That's what I meant. First 2 rows of girls that were singing, these young girls, singing pro-life songs, which I'd never seen in my life, because all the young girls at my university, all the young girls I've experienced are like adamantly wanting to murder their children. So seeing 2 rows of young girls singing their hearts out to a pro-life song, that hit me. That really hit me, because I had never seen something like that before. And I want to bring something like that to Canada, where young conservative people can just rally and be themselves, fight for what they believe in. And I want us to shift focus onto the youth. That doesn't mean neglecting the older generation. That doesn't mean that at all. You're instrumental. Of course, you're on the front lines, but they're about to be on the front lines, and they don't know anything of warfare. They don't know how to fight. They don't know anything. And that brings me to Judges 2:20. Judges 2:20. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And he said, because this people have transgressed my covenant that I commanded their fathers and have not obeyed my voice, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations that Joshua left when he died, in order to test Israel by them, whether they will take care to walk in the way of the Lord as their fathers did or not. So the Lord left those nations, not driving them out quickly, and he did not give them into the hand of Joshua. Now these are the nations the Lord left to test Israel by them, that is, in Israel, who had not experienced all the wars in Canaan. It was only in order that the new generations of the people of Israel might know war, to teach war to those who had not known it before. So oftentimes, I hear things, and I'm guilty of this. Lord, why don't you just remove Trudeau? Save him or remove him. You know, I'm tired of these tyrants. We have Kennys, we have Trudeaus, we have Fords, and Gondeks. Like, just remove them. It'd be so much easier. But he's saying, no. No, I'm leaving you nations. These were some of the strongest nations in Canaan. He left them intact. He did not allow Joshua to take them out in order to teach the new generation warfare, because they needed to learn war. How else are you going to learn war? You're just going to become complacent and not follow my voice anyway. Why would I remove your enemies? You remove them. You fight them. So we're talking about, you know, why won't you remove Trudeau? Why don't you remove Kenny? It's exhausting. But he's saying, no, I need a generation that knows how to fight, who knows how to resist, who knows how to take heart in the war.
Amen. Good.
And that's what we need the youth to do. We need to train them in warfare. And we need to train them how to fight. That doesn't mean we let the tyrants be as they are. You fight them actively, but you teach the young how to fight.
That's right. Good.
So I want to start something for the youth. I'm going to be working on that. That's going to be my project. I finished university. I have some more time on my hands. I'm not neglecting my ambitions. I am still going to pursue law school. I'm doing all that in the winter and the fall. But I feel like we need to do more. So I want to start something for the youth. I want to start working for the younger generation. And that's one of the reasons why I was sent down there. I really got this passion in my blood for the young people, for the young generation that's so deprived of everything. I mean, no moral standards at all. We learn the most disgusting things in the school system, and you can't stand out because you'll be canceled. You can't, it's very difficult to be the only one, and I can say that because I was the only one. It's very difficult to be the only one to stand out. But if you have a movement or if you have something where everyone has an opportunity to stand out, then you're not the only one. One can do 1,000, two can do 10. So that's what I wanted to share. That's what I'm going to be doing. I believe that's why I was called to the U.S., to really get this fire for the young generation. And I'll let my mom share her story.
We didn't talk, and I asked the Lord, I said, which part of the book I supposed to base and stand today on? And I said, Book of Judges. And he quote Book of Judges. We didn't talk. We knew that we're going to just cover the story. But to finish about his education, he worked really hard for past 4 years. He would do his homeworks. He would do above and beyond when it comes to the grades because he wants to go to the law school. Otherwise, he would just pass everything with average grades. But he did his best to have good grades because that would open another university. And he was working very hard, and he had strong average grades until the last year. And this is what happened last year when our life went more crazier than crazy. Arthur was in jail and all that. He says, Mom, this is the weirdest thing. I don't have time to study. I scribble my essays and everything, my homework quickly on my knees, and I get 100%. I never got 100%. So this is part of our testimony that we stand, we do what's right. And this is how God enlightened him. I don't know. Not only that, we just found out that he finished with honors. You know, I'm really proud. I'm really proud as a mama. And let me tell you, he covered a lot. I'm not going to repeat myself. Many attacks. When I see attacks, it means it was important for us to go there. Many attacks when Arthur was there. And I wanted to go back to that time when he traveled. When he traveled, he left the church for 4 months. In the eyes of men, not very wise thing to do. But we follow God. And God knew what he was doing. So sometimes, in order for other people to pick up the calling, leader has to be removed. Or sometimes if certain things needs to be revealed in a church, go up to the surface. God will allow some people to travel. Anyway, I just wanted to say, when Arthur traveled, some things got revealed in this church, and they needed to be revealed. So we have to follow God, even though it doesn't seems the wisest thing to do. As a mama, as a mother, I could say, you know what, you have to don't stick out your neck. You have to finish your university and all this. And in a time when he had the most important exams, he was every day in front of jail. Yet he got his 90% and hundreds, and he finished with honors. This doesn't happen without God.
That's right.
This doesn't happen without God. And sometimes you pay the price, and they are consequences. They are consequences, and our life is good example of it. But let me tell you this: when we went over there, I didn't realize, and I don't mean this in a proudful manner. For Americans, this is the most important pastor in Canada. This is how they view us. They know few names of Canadian pastors because of the friendships or the same denomination. But for them, and that comes out of their mouth, they would tell me that your husband is the most important pastor in Canada, and if I realize that. They're asking me if I realize that. So this is how they view us. This is how they view us. So maybe we should work on our appearances, you know, like let's because they are watching us. Let's make it nice here. Let's, you know. It was a surprise for me. It really was. So I said, okay, when I come back, I will clean the stage, and maybe, you know, we have to start acting a little bit nicer, you know, more in a more professional way and all that. But it was good to be honored for a change. So everywhere we went, let me tell you, we are not used to that kind of treatment. So here I am with Antifa around my house and you know, serving the poor that I will always do. And over there, I had a person that would carry my Bible and my purse. I'm like, give it back. No, that's my job. Today, I told to my daughter, okay, I'm used to that treatment. Carry my Bible and my purse. And she said, why? You have your own hands. Good to be back home, into reality. So I did this because I wanted to actually test her heart. I don't expect from you to carry nothing, really, because we are serving each other. But it was different treatment. They would book these crazy hotels and this best restaurants. Why I'm sharing this? We were really treated with honors over there. And sometimes after war, it's good. It felt good. I would lie if I would say it didn't feel good. It felt good. It felt good. But I want you to know that each time I knew that this is our victory. I didn't go there alone. I went over there to represent God. Amen. And we represented you, and we did our best for you not to be ashamed. Let's put it this way. We did our best. And as Nathaniel covered a lot of things. As Nathaniel said, my husband understood a year ago that we need this friendship with Americans. You know, in politics, diplomats are flying and visiting each other. Why they don't just finishing their affairs over a phone? I met in Greece, when I lived in Greece, I worked for a minister. And I learned from this older fellow a lot. He would tell me stories while I was working in his museum about this and that. And one thing stuck with me. He said, why you think diplomats travel and they meet face to face? Because over a phone, you start wars. Face to face, you avoid wars. Because suddenly you see another human being, and suddenly you reason, and suddenly you have feelings, suddenly you talk about your families, and it's completely different game. Over a phone, over a text, those days over a text you finish your marriages, that's another story, but you meet, and it's different. So And Arthur really understood that that's why he went. And that's why he was pleading and pleading and pleading, because that was burning in his bones, that we need them. We need them in this season in our life. And they really did their job. The churches we visit, they were churches that stood for us. And all of them, they receive Kenny's and Mayor's and all those phone numbers that were on a display, and they would harass and they would call and they would keep them accountable, because we don't have those reports. And sometimes somebody would call us and say, you know, I called this person and that person and this person and that person, and they would be very upset. Why you Americans, plural, keep harassing us? Why you even care? So we care because whatever you do to one of us, we really care. So that was nice to hear. Over and over I would hear, oh, I have this radio and this many views. We are talking about the millions over there always, not like I have 1,500 views, I have millions, okay? And I would talk about you often. I would always give on my air contacts, and I don't think, this is what I realized over there, I don't think we fully comprehend how much they picked up the story and they really stand for us, and they really really love us. And many of people would say, you know, I called, I sent, I this and I that, and they would always say the same. Either was California or Florida. He's our pastor. He's our brother. So they identify, God somehow glue us together, connected us together, and they say, your story is our story. So that was extremely important. For me, even though I thought I'm going to be over there, I'm going to talk to a woman, I'm going to tell them my perspective, which was extremely important. And I realized this in Canada when people would come to greet me and say, you are very courageous, and how you can endure that. And I'm thinking, am I? You know, I did what I could, but in their eyes, this is something horrific, this is something awesome, and apparently I'm an example to them. And I was thinking, what I really did. Really, what I really did. We just stood as a family, because whatever we are doing together. But very quickly I realized that not a lot of women would allow their husband to stand, to stick their necks. They would not allow their sons, their daughters to stick their neck. And this is my testimony. I had a weird dream when I was in States. I had a few dreams actually about the church and about some of you, but one of the dreams was that I talk very passionately with this young adult, and I'm explaining to him the ways of the Lord and all that, and suddenly somebody, it was a prophetic dream, somebody brings me a baby. We're not going to have another baby. Suddenly somebody brings me a baby, and I'm supposed to feed him, and it's naked. I'm like, whose baby is that, and why it's my responsibility? And the young fellow that was so passionate in this discussion said, okay, I leave you with, and he left. And I looked at this baby, and this baby had a beard. And the dream ended. I had good idea what that means, but then I met with the prophet at, apparently I forgot his name. I met all those people that I would joke with, and then somebody would say, you know, who is that? This is that and that. If I knew it, maybe, you know. But one of in Greg's Lock Church, I met his right hand. It's quite important guy. He's very prophetic. Sometimes he's at Sidroth show. And he said, you don't even realize who you are. Your job is to raise young men and nurture them to become a man. Like, that didn't make sense. That didn't make sense. And then Julie Green told us that prophetess are quite important in the United States right now. She told us that we are instrumental. This ministry is instrumental in what we do in building the most important bridge between US and America that we desperately need right now. We desperately need right now. Let me tell you, 350 million people. And we are only 10% of it. It's powerful force over there. And even though of course I talk only about the remnant. Remnant is powerful over there. They understand that they have a voice. And they understand that they are keeping in check their politician. So we are still here we are still in Canada. We have this idea, let's not stir a board, politics, church. Let's separate that. But over there, they understand that if you're conservative, you have to kind of come to your local church and make sure that they approve you. So we are not having exactly doors open and all the politicians storming the church and say, I'm a good guy, I'm a good woman. No, we don't see that. But you see, this is the state and the church, that those are, we have this revelation, two legs that builds a nation. And we have to keep each other in check. And one of my favorite books, I know this would sound crazy, that of course, the whole Bible is so unique, but Book of Judges, I really would encourage every person and every politician especially to read Book of Judges. It's messed up book. It's messed up book. It's you would think after 40 years in a desert, after Moses was taken away and Joshua was fighting for a promised land, they would know better. But when he died, we have this almost 500 years of history, just one book of completely imperfect people. And it shows, when you read it, it's the best. If every politician would read that book, this country would look completely different. So it shows how every time they walk away from the Lord and His ways, sometimes they would be in a mess for 40 years, sometimes 70 years. And we are talking about 12 tribes of Judah. And when I read this, I always look all the states in the United States and all the province here in Canada, because every province has their own government, sort of speak. And over there you had those judges. Some of them, handful of them, were good. Most of them completely walk away from the Lord. And they were adopting the gods and the ways and the culture of foreign nation Canaanites. But what amazes me, that each time you could see that God was using these imperfect people. And I think number one mistake is when we read Bible and we read this crazy events, that we think that because it's in the Bible and because we read about them, that God endorses these people. No, they are imperfect people, and He never blessed and endorsed the sin, but he would use whoever God chooses to use. That's why right now, so many times, I'm not on the same page when we discuss different personalities in politics, because God can use a donkey, in my opinion. And now in this Christianity, we have this big magnifying glass, and we think, okay, let's see if this person meets my criteria. It doesn't work that way. This is how I view Canada right now, and this is where we are, and unfortunately, this is what I see. God will fix a region, a village, a nation, and usually second generation destroys it completely. And you would think, what's the point? Let's buy a farm, and why even bother to fight? It looks like God has different opinion. It looks like God is looking for people that are willing to fight for his righteousness, to stand up. And I'm not here having a speech, okay, let's vote for my husband because he's just one guy for one small region. But this is what happened. This is what happened when you read book of Judges. One man, one righteous man would fight and win, and would be peace and some kind of sanity for another 50 years or 70 years. It's worth it. It's worth it. And then you have generations to come that are building the nations on this foundation. So this is where I see Canada right now. I see Canada in a book of Judges. When we invited those religious, all good, Canada is for everybody, but we are worshiping their gods. And number one sin was sacrifice of children in book of Judges. So we are in big trouble. I don't know how many years we're going to pay the consequences, but we have to stand and we have to keep in check, and no more saying, okay, can we meet in secret with some kind of representative because he cannot reveal himself that he's little bit of believer. No more. We have to right now demand from them to proclaim in a public who they are. So again, back to the travels. As Nathaniel said, it was important. It was eye-opening. We were eating meat, spitting the bones. Some of those churches are not perfect. But let me tell you, even though I was in those beautiful buildings, beautiful sound systems, I really missed this place. You know? I really missed this place, you know. And they would ask me, tell me about your people. What like all those? Because remember, this is Cave of Adullam, and as much I don't like the name of our church, this is where we build mighty men of valor. This is where we build men and women that will change the history. And they would ask me, tell me about them, and I would say, sorry to surprise you, but they are weirdos. Some of them are from the rally circles, freedom rally circles, and they would come to the church, and they need a lot of sanctification. They are not perfect people, but this is who God is using. Amen. In this last hour. God is using people that are willing. And I'm excited. because as my husband said, we entered new chapter. No question about. And we're going to see some amazing things. Yes, we're going to see persecution. Yes, we're going to see some people that are going to puke at us and leave the poop and leave the church. But this is their job. So we have to not allow us to focus on that. Just clean it and let's move on. And let's move on. So I always see in advance. And one of the things I wanted to share with you, during those years of being in a front line, a lot of people would tap you on your shoulder when things are good and street church goes good. And then we end up in some kind of trouble and we have decision, do we stand or we go to the basement and we cry? And usually we stand. And in that moment, there is some confrontational moment when you have to raise your voice, when you have to address. And there is this specific minute when I could see that somebody is already gone because they didn't like it. And we had, during our years of ministry, we had amazing men and women around us, amazing, strong, until this first arrest, until first time police would show up, and you could see something broke in them, and then next time you meet, it's already separation, and then they just wait to have a reason to leave. And of course, it would be embarrassment if they would just leave. They have to find the, excuse, look at them, look at them, they this and that. And we can see it through it. So we can see it through it. Probably 5 years from now, maybe not all of you are going to be around, but I want you to know that everybody matters. We are not going to be the kind of pastors that are going to call you every day and talk about your feelings, because it's different ministry. No, your feelings are extremely important to me, don't get me wrong, but we have to realize this is different church. This is different church. I care about your feelings, I care about your health, I care about the relationship, but make friends with each other, please. Why I have to hear about it or your disputes? We are in a war. We are in the last hour. We don't have time for changing diapers. We don't, even though I had this picture of that baby. But in the States, one of the things that it's different over there, husband and a wife, majority of churches that we visit, they are pastors together, pastor woman, pastor man. So a few times I would say I'm not a pastor, but then I got tired because they would always call me pastor. But I'm not a pastor. I'm a wife of a pastor, and I refuse to be a pastor. But I don't know if some of you realize that during the years, the way I operate, I raise pastors, I raise teachers, I raise preachers. I will set up a stage in such a way that I will always look for some pens that are going to preach. And this is the way I operate. Maybe some of you listening are just called differently, but this is the way I walk. So even this is my testimony. Maybe somebody is going to get some wisdom of it. Even when Arthur got arrested, I could be the one answering the phones, talking to the media. But I said that with Nathaniel. I said, this is your opportunity to become a man. Not that he's not a man. He tells me I'm 22, I'm a man. But another push. Over there, I would always give him first a mic. Over there, I would say, So you talk to, because we had agent, we had manager over there. So you talk to her, you know, and you deal with all of that. This is the way I work. I push men and women to become leaders. And that doesn't mean that you won't hear from me if needs to. So when you come to my house, my table is my pulpit, and you're going to hear from me. But this is the way we operate, and I'm quite comfortable with it. So that's why my husband is elevating me, because he knows that we are in it together. We absolutely are. But I'm not a pastor. I'm a first lady. I like that. How crazy is that? I was eating in the best restaurants. By the way, this is woman preaching. I bought myself in Nashville cowboy boots. Yes, I did. It was difficult. I was there 3 hours because what do? You have 500 cowboy. So Nathaniel thought he's going to jump out the window, but he endured it. 2 pairs.
Good for you.
Thank you. I was saying something and I lost my thought. I'm sorry. Yes, I ate in the best restaurants. And I didn't feel sorry about it. They were paying. And I missed the streets. How crazy is that? I missed the pots and pans and coolers and homeless. And this is how you know you're called. Because show me a man, show me a woman, I spend with her or him a few days, and I will see if there is a calling. Because when you run into impossible, this is how you can recognize the calling. When we met with this what was his name, preaching on that ocean? Ray. The guy was chasing with the microphone people, for 2 hours. This is calling. This is calling. So I missed this imperfect church. Please pray stronger for new building. Things are going to be more organized when we have new building. I really missed streets, and this is exciting time. This is exciting time. We already know prophetically what is going to happen. So we have to adjust to have our pastor in politics. Thank you for standing. Oh, and everywhere I was talking about you and how you stood for 50 days when your pastor was in jail. Thank you.
Wow. Well, Nathaniel, congratulations, of course, on finishing the school with honors. I was rotting in prison, and he didn't have even time to do it properly, but God blessed him with that honorary degree. I mean, is that not amazing? Amazing, and it touches my heart as well. Also, I agree with my wife. You are a church of weirdos. That is how it is. I wouldn't have any other way. Look at me. We fit perfectly. I mean, it's beautiful. It's awesome. And I think that's what God wants. When we were debating, and by the way, I shared that when I made my announcement, when I was in a solitary cell, and I was like this lion going back and forth from the door to the window, and I just felt God saying, run. And I said, no, I don't want to run. It's filthy. It's ugly. I don't like those people. I don't like politicians. I don't want to say I hate, because I don't. I pity them. So I don't want to be one that others pity, in politics. But again, if it's a calling, if God is calling you to do something, you can't escape that. Unless you will hear what I've heard from that prophet from Nigeria. when he said, if you don't want to do it, I have 7,000 that'll take your place. And there's nothing worse than for a man or a woman to miss his or her destiny in the kingdom of God. So we are a different church. We're different Christians. We are peculiar people, the Bible calls us. And I want to be a peculiar politician. I think we have entered a time where people are sick and tired of professional politicians. Do you want another professional, pathological liar? Do you want another polished, wise, or knowledgeable politician that will tell you what you want to hear, but will do the opposite the moment is elected? We don't want that. I think we all are sick and tired of them. So I think what I'm trying to say is that this is a perfect place for all of us here. As weird as we fit perfectly, we're different. And in the political arena, I think it will be the same thing. We will be different. But I think that's what God wants. Different. So be blessed. Thank you so much. And see you next week. I'll tackle the rest of the 7 mountains, remember? By the way, I know it takes a while, like everything. By the way, there were some people that left the church because I'm preaching about 7 mountains. I believe that we had operatives in our church that their job was only to bring division and to destroy the church from within. So watch, pay attention. If there is anyone here that wants to bring division, there is the door. Amen. You can stand up. And I'm not kidding. You can stand up and go. And take your wallets with you. Because this church, the Cave of Adullam, my wife says, why you had to pick this name? Out of all the beautiful names around the world, you know, some churches got like such a phenomenal, beautiful. Well, I didn't. She doesn't believe me, but I did not pick that name. When God said it to me, I was ready to cry. This is God. The Cave of Adullam, the majority of Christians don't even read the Bible. They will not even understand what that means. They don't know the stories. I have to be explaining all the time why the Cave of Adullam. It was a fortress. It was a castle. It was the most powerful place where David gathered his mighty men of valor. That's where he built his army. And when God spoke to me, he says, I want you to call this church the Cave of Adullam, because out of this church, mighty men and women of valor will come out. That's why. So be blessed, church, and see you next week. Amen.